Welcome back to another episode of Farm Stories from our small farm in Norway. As you see, we're in the middle of winter right now with loads of snow, and this week we're not going to work too much on the barn, but have this little side project of turning an old steel bathtub into a usable, simple hot tub. Coffee? Yeah, that's a good boy. Go off. We need to work.
The DIY hot tub was the first leisure project on the farm, and something I had been looking forward to for a while. In the beginning, I thought I'd keep it rather simple and just elevate the tub with 2 logs and then make a fire straight under it. But over time, you want to do things as proper as you can, so it got much more complicated than that. The beginning of this year's winter has been comparatively cold, so there hasn't been too much snow, which made it much easier to work on the bathtub without having to move meters each time I would go outside. I ended up going all over the property in search for stones and at least came up with enough concrete ones and regular bricks to be able to build the fire chamber and the heat storage that would be under the wood foundation of the bathtub. What was missing at that point was some sort of mortar, and I really felt like trying myself out on clay. As our neighbor is draining a field for food production, it's pretty much endless resource, and it's much easier to work with if you would like to take things apart later on again. Even though a gravel foundation isn't something you would necessarily build a house on, I think it was sufficient for this project, so I went ahead and mixed about 70% of clay with 30% of sand to start with the bricklaying. The fire chamber is pretty much entirely covered by the massive rock that you saw earlier. There was a 10 centimeter gap in the back though, and just to ensure that this part of the bathtub wouldn't get too hot lighting a fire there, I covered parts of it up with some more flat stones covered in clay. The gap that I left to the side ensures that the heat from the fire chamber still makes its way all the way across the bathtub for the most even heating. As soon as I had sealed up the drainage, it was time to collect big gravel in order to fill the entire chamber next to the fire chamber. The point of this is that the rocks will absorb the heat and store them so that the water stays warm longer. If you're planning to have a similar project using clay, keep in mind that it contracts a lot while hardening. So you have to go over 2-3 times in order to fill all the cracks and gaps and make it airtight. You probably don't need those refractory bricks in the fire chamber if you are using clay all around, but I thought I'll just play it safe and have a little bit of insulation for a better heat distribution as well. It also seemed a good idea to cover the bottom of the fire chamber with clay. That way it should be much easier to remove ashes in future. At the first trial of heating up a full bathtub, I noticed it took quite a while, especially on a windy day, so I decided to build a lid, and since then the heating time has at least cut in half. The lid ended up being so effective that in the first real trial, the water was close to the boiling point, and I first had to replace half of it in order to have a bath. The hot tub has been my favorite project of the year. There was something very charming about creating the feeling of luxury from very basic things.